Mary Poppins, is that your name? It's lovely.
Thank you. I've always liked it.
It was one of the most beloved musicals ever made.
Oh, it's a jolly holiday with Mary.
Now, 54 years later, The Nanny is back, and so is the magic in the most highly anticipated sequel of the holidays, Mary Poppins Returns.
Mary Poppins, it is wonderful to see you.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Mary Poppins Returns hits theaters on December 19th, and we thought this was the perfect time to revisit the original and celebrate the new film.
It's a big swing, you know, but I think that there's room for more adventure, for more magic.
Take a look!
The story of Mary Poppins began back in the 1930s with Australian-born British author P.L. Travers.
This film is based on the 7 additional books that she wrote. I don't think people are aware of the fact that she wrote from 1934 to 1988, 8 books altogether. And so all these adventures, all of this comes from her work.
Mary Poppins Returns has been more than 3 years in the making. The project was announced in 2015, and Rob Marshall signed on that September. The Oscar-nominated director had already made 3 successful musicals, Into the Woods, 9, and the 2002 Best Picture winner, Chicago.
Mary Poppins Returns is a sequel. It takes place literally 24 years later than the original film. We never for a second even considered the idea of a remake of any kind. Well, because I don't think you can improve upon that brilliant movie.
Close your mouth, please, Michael. We are not a codfish.
We really thought, you know what? The only way to approach this was to look at it as an extension, a companion piece to the original, and be able to take that world and move it into a different time, characters grown up, a different story, but with Mary Poppins as the character that comes back.
Mary.
Poppins. Close your mouth, please, Michael. We are still not a codfish.
For Marshall, there was never any question who would play the title role.
Emily was my first and only choice. I'd worked with her on Into the Woods. I loved working with her on that film. I think plan B was just don't do the film. I mean, honest to God.
No, it was almost quite a lot of pressure on the phone. He goes, and Em, if you really don't want to do this, then we're going to do something else. And I was like, that's a lot of pressure. But I always, obviously, as soon as he said it, it was going to be a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Because I know what that film has meant to people. I know what the character means to people.
You see, in every job that must be done, there is an element of fun.
I must have seen it when I was about 6 or 7. And I do remember being completely swept up by the magic of it and of her, of course. But then I didn't watch it again. Actually, I didn't watch it before I shot my version of Mary Poppins, and probably because I didn't want to be intimidated by Julie Andrews, who is so iconic in this very iconic role.
I'm sure I haven't the faintest idea what you're talking about.
So for me, the books were, because I didn't watch the original, the books were huge, because she really is so enigmatic and weird and batty and funny and vain, and she's an extraordinary strange bird, you know, and I found so much in the books that was a sort of launching pad, really.
Bucks and mares, cubs and does, welcome to our show of shows.
Broadway superstar Lin-Manuel Miranda co-stars as Jack, the Lamplighter, who quickly becomes Mary's friend and co-conspirator.
My character, Jack, is the same age as the Banks kids, so he actually has a similar reverence for Mary Poppins when she comes back, and he remembers to hang out with Mary is to go on some wild adventures.
Are we ready?
Ready.
And so that's enormous fun.
There's like a joy to him that's so not jaded, and that's so rare. If I had to choose the one reason why Lin, it's that spirit. And it's in the film. You'll feel it when you see him in the film.
He has that natural hopefulness that we needed for the part. Because it's not that his character Jack is magical like Mary, but he gets it and he sees it, and so he's in cahoots with her. And so that chemistry needed to feel hopeful and magical.
Of course, these two people were under tremendous pressure. Emily Blunt filling Julie Andrews' shoes. Lin-Manuel Miranda coming off of one of the biggest hits in the history of Broadway. And yet on screen, they are absolutely magnetic and they suck you right in.
I thought I was all right with heights, and then as I kept going higher, I was like, I don't think I am all right with heights. I actually think I'm very bad with heights. But I was very high. All I remember is looking down and seeing Lin-Manuel Miranda was like that big, and I was like, oh my God.
When approaching this, the real question was, how do we find our way in?
In Mary Poppins Returns, the reason Mary Poppins Returns is that Jane and Michael Banks are fully grown. Due to a tragedy in Michael's life, he is raising 3 children alone, and he needs the help of none other than Mary Poppins.
What brings you here after all this time? Same thing that brought me the first time. I've come to look after the Banks children. Us? Oh yes, you too.
So Jane and Michael, yes, are now much older, and they've lived enough of life to have suffered sort of disappointments and to feel the kind of pain of things. And they're still very close. They're still great friends, and we both are in need of a dose of Mary Poppins as you meet us.
We're about to lose our home. Everything's fallen to pieces since your mother.
I loved the film so much when I was a child, and I lived in it so much, and I played it out, I acted it out so much as a child that it was just a sort of so unbelievable and weird that I should be returning to it as a 37-year-old, That was why I wanted to do it. It was pretty selfish, actually.
The film also co-stars Colin Firth as Michael's boss and bank president William Wilkins, and Meryl Streep as Mary's eccentric cousin, Topsy.
Also your 3rd movie with Meryl Streep.
I know. Can she just get her own projects, or like
get her own career?
Find your own movies, no.
You're like the new Key and Peele.
I know, totally.
Like, do everything together.
Yeah, that's actually perfect. I'm going to tell her that.
Rounding out the cast is the co-star of the original Mary Poppins, 92-year-old living legend Dick Van Dyke.
He's playing the old banker, and I don't know if you remember, but in the original film, he plays an old banker as a sort of a secondary part.
So, you have tuppence. May I be permitted to see it?
And that's the part he's playing in this. It's the son of that, but basically it's the same character.
So that, I think, rather took people's breath away when he stepped on set. And people were quite emotional, actually, watching him.
The few days that we had Dick Van Dyke on set were some of the most magical, in a pretty magical shoot. He's such a life force. You feel more alive after you spend some time with him.
And also because he connected it to the original movie in such a beautiful way. I mean, it was amazing to get to talk to him about what it was like to be on the set 54 years ago, and to have Walt Disney himself there, and all these extraordinary tales he would tell. So it was really incredible.
He has this beautiful monologue, and at the end of the monologue, I could literally not say cut. I couldn't speak. I was so moved, like so choked up, I couldn't even say the word cut.
And Rob couldn't even speak. He was like, cut, so beautiful. It was so emotional, watching him work. It was just really cool.
Everything is possible.
Even the impossible.
Mary Poppins Returns is just the perfect holiday movie. There are big stars, there are big numbers. It's a completely joyous, happy film.
This has been 3 years of my life, and to disappear into this world for 3 years, especially in the world we live in now, was heaven.
In the middle of Brexit, in the middle of the aftermath of the election in 2016, we were going to work every day, working nonstop to make something that would bring people unalloyed, childlike joy. And that felt wonderful. It feels wonderful to put your energy into something that's just going to make people so happy.
I think it's made with real love and without cynicism. And there's something, I think, for everybody, for very little children and for less little children.
I mean, I'm not one to sort of recommend my films to people, like, you gotta go see it, but with Mary Poppins, I truly am beyond proud of it, and I can't wait for people to see the movie. It's the most hopeful, joyous, exciting film.
Off we go.